Rejection is what stops us doing the things that we know that we should be doing. And I'm also speaking about rejection in the form of like of failure, because when you fail to do something, it's kind of like the activity rejected your ability because your ability just wasn't high enough to do that. So I think that could be a form of rejection. So let's say you tried to kick a football and side, hit the bar or something. Kind of stupid, I know, but um, if you fail to land the accuracy of that shot and take all factors like wind and drag force into consideration, then that means that your ability to calculate the trajectory of that ball was wrong, and you failed in that, and that's a form of rejection because you didn't do it properly. So rejection is also in the form of failure. So we should not underestimate the presence of rejection in our daily lives. Like if you try to do 20 push-ups but you fail at like 9, then your physical ability was clearly rejected by the force of gravity, and that's not really as bad as social rejection. Social rejection is associated with the part of the brain that causes pain, and it's usually like physical pain, and it's more or less indistinguishable from the actual thing. Um, so rejection socially is usually not personal. So say if you're approaching someone or cold calling, like today I cold called 10 businesses and not a single one of them um, agreed entirely. Of course, um, some of them just didn't pick up at all. One of them just hung up on me immediately. This is my first time cold calling, and I have to say it kind of it is painful, but I understand in principle that that's kind of how it's supposed to be. It's just supposed to be painful, and uh, therefore I am improving my ability to take rejection to the face. And I know it's not personal, but your brain doesn't completely align right away with logic. So just be mindful of that. That's what I'm being mindful of. And I'm gonna do the same thing tomorrow. I'm gonna ring up another bunch of businesses. There is one of the same ones that they offer you to email them, but I've emailed tons of businesses. None of them have replied to me. People just ignore emails, so that's why you kind of need to push, and I'm pushing to call one of them again tomorrow. And if I were to get rejected again, then so be it. That's okay. 10 rejections, that's fine. Um, but some people do get dissuaded from it. And people fear rejection, but there is really no reason logically to fear rejection. Of course, there is psychologically, but logically, you have nothing to lose. Like, you're not going to die from this transaction or something. Your brain is just going to get slightly offended for a few minutes. Well, that's going to be it. You're not going to you're not going to actually lose anything, if you know what I mean. Um, it's not going to go too bad. The reason you might be rejected is because your value doesn't reflect their need. So they might just not be in the mood for you at the moment. So therefore, they don't need you. Maybe they genuinely don't need whatever you have to offer. Maybe if you approach someone of the opposite gender, they're just not looking for someone right now, and therefore you don't match their need, so they don't need you. That's why you get rejected, and of course there are thousands of reasons for rejection, even more so with business. But getting rejected, like in sales, is very common, and it happens to people all the time, and people can just take it easily because they've been rejected multiple times before, and that's one of the things you do need to consider. It's that the pain of rejection gets lower and lower each time, so it's pretty high at the start. But if you hang in there, like with every type of rejection, then uh, it affects you less. So it's you gain resistance to it in some way. What you can do with rejection then is just learn from it. You can, of course, we all know this. We all know if you get rejected, it's probably something you said. When you said you were offering services and they thought you were a customer, that's probably one of the reasons they hung up at that moment. Maybe that's what you need to improve on. Basically, the point is you can learn from your mistakes with rejection. you can see how the rejection was made, the nature of the rejection, and when it occurred, especially. And again, a bit more interesting if you're actually approaching someone, then you can see when they reject you and what you might have said. Maybe you just need to improve yourself more. That's usually the thing. But rejection is something that we need to face one way or another, and that is pretty much how I'm facing it now. I haven't faced it much in my life, I'm going to be honest, but I have faced it a lot today, and it hasn't been easy, but I've gotten through it anyway. And you gain plenty of wisdom from rejection. You generally become more aware, I think, and people don't mention this so much. You become aware of what people really want and where their true intentions lie, and what they're after. And lastly, it's better to try and fail than to not try at all, because again, there's nothing to lose from rejection, but there's everything to gain from it. You could either not get rejected by succeeding in the transaction, or you could get rejected anyway, but then your tolerance goes up slightly, so it's just less painful next time. Just again, keep throwing yourself into the fire and over again, not literally, but just keep throwing yourself in, and you will just become more able to deal with it. And I'm glad I made this video to speak of it, because it has clarified it more in my brain, and I feel kind of less bad about it now, because I just know what happens the whole time. Like one of the businesses I rang was this business that had apparently shut down, and there was a new person occupying it, and then I asked them if they wanted to get my service, and then they said that they wouldn't want to, but that's okay. We do also kind of underestimate the magnitude of rejection. Like, I looked up a bunch of videos of people just calling businesses, and I saw that they took rejection pretty lightly and easily. So then I was just thinking, wow, that's probably not too bad to deal with. I mean, it's not, they're not being mean or anything, but no, there is actually a slight barrier at first, and you do need to be aware of that. But just accept it. And again, if you fear rejection, then just don't think about it, and just dial the number and type it in without thinking, and then go ahead. Make sure you have a script prepared though, or something like that. Or if you're approaching someone, just do it without thinking, and something will happen. Like, it might not be in your favor, but something will happen, and it's again infinitely better than not doing anything at all. Sorry, my camera's shaky. It's much better than doing nothing, because you're getting an outcome, and you're not just staying in your head. And it's always better to get an outcome than to just be imagining, or even worse, fantasizing, because there are, like, we all fantasize about things. I've had dreams. I had a nice dream last night that I was flying, and it was amazing. Then I woke up in my bed and I was face down in my sheets, and I was just wasn't too bad, but the bliss of something that's not your life, it's not worth it. It's gonna get you eventually. Anyway, I've gone kind of off topic here, but that is important. I might make a video about that another day. But rejection is something that we do need to be aware of, and again, it's just better to get rejected than to fail in trying, because that's like rejecting yourself, and the only person you don't want to be rejected by is yourself. So make sure that the person rejecting you is the other person, and you're going to keep your integrity, and there's nothing to lose and there's everything to gain.